Hi, I'm Bobby Burnett, and this is Ernest Halbheer, and we're sitting in the Halbheer home in Monroe, Wisconsin on January 27th, 2017. And we're going to talk a little bit about Ernie's immigration experience coming from Switzerland to the U.S. So thanks for talking to me today. So tell me, where did you come from in Switzerland?
Hi Bobby, I'm Ernie here. I originated in Zurich. That's when I went to school.
And that's near Zurich, is that right?
Zurich.
Zurich.
Yeah, that's probably 45 kilometers from the city itself. The closer town is Rapperswil. Rapperswil Rütiwald, and then goes Stöstal towards Winterthur. Yeah, but anyway, that's where I spent my childhood, and after that I went to trade school.
And what was your trade?
Cheesemaker.
Cheesemaker?
Yeah, got the diploma on Gruyere, Gruyere cheese.
Did you grow up on a cheese factory in Switzerland?
No,
or on a farm?
Yeah. Yeah. Then I went to the army, 17 weeks.
In Switzerland?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And in the army, after that 17 weeks, and then after that every year you have to go for 3 weeks.
Yes.
Thing, which I made 5 years of it.
Yeah. How old were you when you went to the army?
19.
Yeah. And that's the age that all
19,
Swiss young men.
Yeah. If they're physically. Now these days they get even a little fussier. They don't need everybody.
Sure.
They need a certain education.
Yeah.
Those days they took anybody was. Yeah.
Where did you do your army training?
In Aarau. In Aarau, and then that's where I made my recruiter show. But then later on I made a course in motor vehicles.
Oh.
Because infantry, that's where I made the army.
You
had to do a lot of walking, and that was stressful for me.
Yes.
It was easier then.
Yeah, especially in Switzerland where everything is either up or
that's
down.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Even on the old-fashioned way those days,
Sure.
with everything on your back.
Tell me about your family in Switzerland.
Well, I had 5 brothers and a sister, but stepbrothers.
And what were their names?
Miller.
Hey, what were their first names?
Oh, Albert, then Karl and Rosmarie, then Eugen, and then Hans.
Yeah. And you were the youngest?
Yeah. And they all making a pretty good living in Switzerland. They all, like I said, trade is very important. They all learn the trade. So.
Yeah. Was your father also a cheesemaker?
No.
No. Why did you choose cheesemaking as your trade?
Well, I had to learn something on that. In the food industry, you're always preoccupied,
Sure.
compared to other things.
Sure.
So that was a safe way to go.
Yeah.
And actually, it was reasonable to learn. In a cheese factory, you had 7 days room and board, and you even made a little money on the side.
Sure.
Where in certain trades, you had to go to school and pay for it.
Yeah. So how did you happen to make the decision to come to the U.S.?
Oh, that was just curiosity, I was young, 26 years young, actually. I was 24 years old when I first decided. I wanted to go to Sweden, and then that relative from Arkansas came and asked me, if I would be interested to go to the States. I said, well, that's an opportunity, because even in Sweden you needed a job before you get there, and there wasn't all that. Where here I had an open door, so
Wonderful.
then I thought, well, why not?
So what year was that you came?
Oh, that was in 58, March 58.
You were 24?
26 then.
26?
Yeah, I had to wait 14 months, they have a quote.
I see, with the quota.
Yeah, so 14 months before I was. Besides, I didn't want to get in here before 26. they still could pull you in the army.
I see.
With 26 you had, that was the limit. And, well, I really wasn't interested to go in a foreign country and, you know.
Go in the army again.
Yeah.
Start over in the army.
Sure, you know, so.
Yeah. So what year did you come?
58, March 58.
March of 1958.
Yeah.
What did your family in Switzerland think of this idea?
They thought it was nuts, you know. You know, but I said, well, look, nothing to lose. I can come back. And actually, after 3 weeks, I was ready to come back, you know. Except that, and she was a wonderful person. She said, well, look, if you just stay until the harvest, and then.
Because you came to this, your uncle's farm in Arkansas, is that right?
1200 acre rice farm.
Yeah.
So all I did was driving tractors. That was something new for me too.
Yeah. So what was it that made you think, I think I should go back after 3 weeks?
Well, right then wasn't a planting season in March, was a little early, so he wanted me to paint his house. I never was a painter. Well, anyway, well, I painted about 2 hours and I said, I'm done. He tried to tell me, well, no, it's not quite, you know.
Not quite done yet. Oh boy. To back up a little bit, tell me how you got here. Where from? Did you fly? Did you come by ship?
I get very easy seasick. So I didn't want to take any chances. I think I'm going to fly. So I came with TWA that time.
You're from Switzerland. How did you know that you got seasick? It's a landlocked country.
Well, any waving, even in the cars and so on, got me sick. You know? And when I was listening to them people, you know, some people tell me they rather would have died or would have mind to die, you know, they got so sick, you know, and they, no, I don't take that chance.
Yeah. So you did you fly from Zurich?
Zurich, Paris, and then New York. I spent 3 days in Paris, I spent 3 days in New York. But actually I didn't land it in New York. We landed in Philadelphia.
Oh, in Philadelphia.
Because they had a big snowstorm and they thought they're going to get the snow cleaned in the meantime. Well, they even had snow in Philadelphia, they couldn't get up.
Sure, yeah.
So we were in a plane 2 hours waiting there, you know, didn't speak the language, mostly Italians in there anyway. And,
did someone meet you in Philadelphia? Or
no.
You just were on your own when you got off the plane?
Yeah, and the trouble is, in Zurich, the stewardess said, yeah, you don't have to carry my little thing I had.
Passport?
No, the papers. No, you needed X-ray paper. And all that stuff. Anyway, I didn't have that when I got there. I even needed a shot, you know, but I had a nice guy. He was a priest, you know, he helped me. We were able to communicate. And anyway, we got that.
Did you travel with anybody you knew, or just you?
On my own.
On the plane?
Well, I wasn't alone, you know, but
but you didn't. You weren't with anybody you knew. You got on the plane in Zurich.
I even hardly knew my uncle, the relative. You know, I met him a couple of times. You know, like I say, I always liked the challenge anyway. So I thought, what the heck? You know?
So you got to Philadelphia, and then you said you spent some time in New York. Was that just on your own too?
No, I knew a girl up there in Switzerland, and she wanted me to stop in New York. Actually, she was waiting for me, but we never appeared. You know? Well, we did appear later on, about 6 hours later in buses, you know, but I didn't know. She was still waiting. Well, anyway, like in Europe, you just take a taxi. So I hopped in a taxi, I gave him the address, and he said, you had to ask 5 times, and the trip cost me 65 bucks.
Oh my gosh.
That was a heavy thing those days, you know.
Of course.
Like 200 today.
Sure.
Anyway, you know, I thought, holy cow, money really don't go too far in that step, you know.
That's right,
Yeah, but then we finally, she was, had a job as a babysitter, you know. They had 3 kids.
Sure. But she showed you around New York?
Yeah, first time I seen Rockefeller Center on Fifth Avenue. I mean, it was pretty depressing. It's just like in Glorious, you know. You know, except they were all red bricks, high bricks, and really, Rockefeller Center looked very impressive. What the rest is, about the sky. I mean, I've seen skyscrapers like that.
Sure, yeah.
And
So
then
how did you, yeah, go ahead.
in the morning when I went for breakfast, I was on my own. They put me in a room. I couldn't read it, but thanks God they had pictures on the menu, so I could pick out the pictures. That's as bad as my English was. Never had pancakes in Switzerland either, so that was another experience. But you survived.
Yeah. So how did you get to Arkansas then?
Oh, then I took a flight from New York to Memphis. And that was a little hobby because it was another sick machine.
Sick machine.
But, yeah. And then they picked me up in Memphis. That was about 65 miles from where they farmed us.
Yeah. Where was the farm in Arkansas?
In Harrisburg. That's about 18 miles south of Jonesboro. Jonesboro is the next big city there.
I see.
Or between Little Rock and Memphis, it's about in the middle there.
Yeah.
All flat land, as long as you can see, I mean, there were rice fields, 10,000 acres.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, that was the amazing part, And they had things pretty well under control. They had all the water they needed. They could just pump it. So they had raised two crops, They had rice, wheat, and soybeans. That's where, it was pretty impressive there, But,
so how did you happen to get up here to Wisconsin then?
well, my uncle, he started actually up here in Wisconsin, so he was familiar with the thing. He started up in Minnesota, but that was so cold on the farm.
Oh, I see.
So cold for milk, and he said that's no good, so he moved south. Well, there were a lot of Germans in that territory too, I mean, there was some communication.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, anyhow, then in fall '58, September, that's when I came up here. He even brought me up here. Well, he bought me a car down there.
I see.
And then we drove together up here, and he took the bus back. It was pretty nice.
Yeah, and you came up to what, Monroe or Albany?
Monroe. No, Monticello actually. Yeah.
Monticello?
Yeah. But we had an ad in the paper, in the Monroe paper. I had 3 jobs. So Sam was the lucky one. So, but 59 was a bad winter. A lot of snow. And I had to pick up 2 loads of milk and wash them wheels with. Heavy work. I did it over there, but not on a continuous basis, just.
Sure, yeah.
Because before I came over here, I made army, over there, every guy has to go 3 weeks in the army. So, so I made army relief. So every 5, 6, 7 weeks I had a different job.
Sure you'd have.
That was interesting for me, and nothing more boring than that. Like making cheese over here every day, the same thing for all your lifetime. That's not it. So,
so you came up, and at that point you still hadn't studied any English, right?
No. I was out in the boondocks, Wood Enders. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's right down on the state line. I went by the other day. I thought, holy Moses, this is the end of the world, And I was single,
Must have seemed like it at that time.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it was pretty nice. They brought a whole wagon full of girls one time, and I thought, I need a girlfriend.
But I understand from your wife that after a while you did find a girlfriend, and she became your wife. How did that happen?
Yeah, when we got to Monroe, we had to learn American history, to be able to make a citizenship. And we had a teacher, Werner Bloom, which we all thought was kind of funny, but yeah, I did it, And that's where we met, They sat in front of us. And we were very young, and they couldn't understand the word in Swiss. They got their own dialect, and they had their own dialect.
Ernie's wife, Gisela, for anyone watching this, is from Germany, but she was also learning English, but she tells us that there was a room full of Swiss guys.
There were about 12 of us at that time.
Boy.
And, then when the 2 Gisela and her girlfriend walked home, we asked them if they wanted to write, First time they refused us, so, well, we all were single, and, okay. So, but then after a while, we got to know each other closer, you know.
Yeah.
A year and a half later. Well, actually, I wasn't ready to get married yet, but she said either we're going to get married or she's going to go back. You know? So I said, well, I suppose.
I suppose. And how many years have you been married now?
Oh, I don't
know. I shouldn't ask you that. Anyway, they've been married for a long time, and it appears that that it's worked out just fine.
Well, we got married in '61, so that's what. Now we got.
56 years. Yeah.
56. Yeah.
Yeah.
So far,
when you first came over, how did you communicate, with your family back home, and were you homesick?
Oh yeah, I was homesick, all right. Even when I back to Switzerland,
Well, yeah, it was a while before you went back, I understand. But Gisela told me that when you went back the first time, that was the first that your family met her, and the first that her family met you, right?
Yeah.
That must have been an amazing trip. Yeah. Boy. But now you've been back many times through the years, is that right?
Oh yeah, 23 times.
Yeah. Well, we're very glad that you ended up coming to Monroe. I know that you and Gisela have both sung in the Monroe Swiss Singers for many years. Were you a singer before you were in Monroe?
No, not in Switzerland.
Yeah,
we sang already, but just on the bar.
Just in the bar.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we had some good times.
So how did that happen that you became a singer in the U.S.?
Well, actually, the Swiss, just about any town has a singing group, and actually it brought me closer to Switzerland than anything else, Even when I retired from Dean's, which was 28 plus years, down there I came back to Monroe for retirement. I sang before in a manor choir. We started a manor choir in Turner Hall in '58.
Oh, so that was right about when you were
here. I was even president that time. Oh yeah, we just started.
You were one of the founding members of the manor choir.
Yeah, and then in '63 we just didn't have enough members, so we thought, well, we could actually create a mixed choir. Sure. So that's when the girls started. Even Brigitte Dursley started that time, and so on.
Well, that's been a good group through the years. Yeah.
The manor choir had about 18 members that time. Even like Rosie Wenger's father was there, and Henry Frey.
Yeah. And through the years, did a lot of people in your family or your friends from there come to visit?
Oh, just about everybody came to see me once, just for a week. One time they came even 8 high down in Rockford, But we had that chalet, we had lots of them, so they all were able to sleep down. We had a shower, a kitchen, everything down there, so they liked that.
And I know that you lived in Rockford for many years, and your work was down there. Why did you happen to choose to retire to Monroe then?
Why? Because of the Swiss background. I knew a lot of people, and I even played in the William Tell, so I knew a lot of people up here, and the Swiss background was still here, in Rockford there was mostly Swedes and Italians. But Rockford was really the place to make an income compared to Greene County, One thing I learned in a hurry over here, you had to look for number one first, nobody else would, like health and welfare.
Oh, sure.
That was all covered in big companies, which you don't have up here. They give you a title, but that's, don't put any food on the table. So the Deans was looking even here in the Monroe paper for help.
I see.
So I went down there.
What was your job with Deans?
Well, I made it all the way to foreman, I started as cheesemaker, but then I quit the foreman. I didn't have the personality for the beef foreman, you know. I mean, that just
wasn't something you liked.
No, I rather go down and do my job.
And rather do it. Do it than tell somebody else to.
Yeah, we had 94 employees, you know.
Sure.
You're supposed to walk around and
Yeah.
they tell me put pressure on that. The guy was chewing tobacco, had brandy in there and stuff like that. You know, when I get rid of him, you know. I say, you dirty work yourself, you know. That's not for me, you know. But, anyway,
Well, you've had an interesting life here.
Oh yeah. And I mean, down the Deans, we didn't make just cottage cheese. Oh, that was number one. They had the biggest research center in the States. So whenever something new, they brought it over here, you know.
That must have been interesting.
It was. Yeah, it really was. It had about 17 different divisions, you know. So, yeah. We even had, when we started out in the early 60s, the thing from University of Wisconsin, we called it the monster. You can, something like thing has in cheese factories, continuous cheesemaker for cottage cheese.
See. You know. Yeah, it was a machine. Some of the machines. Yeah.
Actually, all you made the curd, you know, for the thing. But some of the curd was so tough you could play tennis balls. So. That is Gisla's oops. That was Gisla's family. They give up, but they spent $1 million there. I mean, the experience was interesting, you know. In cheese you use culture there, they use acid, you know, to separate the cheese from the whey, you know. So, but they never could have got it right.
What experiences you've had. But,
well,
we'll wind this up. But is there anything else you want to tell us about? You know, either when you came over or
that's something? Pretty much covers it.
Well, thank you for.
Happy?
So all in all, it sounds like you and Gisela have had a good life here. You have a daughter, Heidi, who lives in La Crosse, and who you see pretty often, and granddaughter, and so well.
And we have a grandson and a granddaughter. So we're very fortunate, you know.
Well, we feel privileged to know you and be your friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Likewise.